preparing to live stream. Beautiful. We're live. What's that? Dear Amoraea, you still look like an Archangel Raphael, as I remember you. It's warm. It's really beautiful to be together. And I am so excited to have this time where we can dive into a mystical, philosophical, heart-based exploration on the future of humanity. And where are you logging in from? Where are you located now?
Currently, I just moved back to Bali from Kauai. These seem to be the two ends of the rainbow for me.
Mhm.
And so it's a delight to be about half an hour outside of Ubud, which is kind of like the spiritual hub of Bali, which itself is, I would say, one of the most profound spiritual hubs of the whole planet. And it's really a delight to be in this culture, which is so grounded in
Mm.
its spiritual values, I would say. And I think values is a huge topic around where we're going and what's possible according to the values that we decide as a culture, as a global culture. But anyway, it feels amazing to be transmitting here from Bali to you.
Mm. And I am currently in California, and this video will be published on a Wisdom YouTube and a Wisdom podcast, as well as on the Facebook. And it was my deep inspiration to bring you the modern luminaries of our time, embodied wisdom teachers. And Amoraea, for me, you are one of those very rare, clear, steady channels of the divine wisdom. I had truly a joy to study with you, to have private sessions with you. And, it's your vibration left a mark on me, a positive imprint. And you truly, to me, represent the teacher who teaches through vibration, through embodiment. You're an eloquent speaker, you're an amazing teacher, but it's your vibration that touched me the most. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because what you bring is so pure and clear and steady, like this wave of steady flame of wisdom. So yes, that's how I wanted to introduce you. Beside you are a teacher of teachers and my fellow mystic and a mystery school teacher, and you have a really long um, like a lot of experience, right? That you walk this path. This is not your first year. You have 2 decades behind you or more of being dedicated to the path of wisdom and to the path of embodiment. Yeah.
Delightful to share in the vibration, like you said, because when it
Mm.
comes down to it, it's not going to be intelligence or information, that determines where we go or who we are. It's going to be our vibration. And it's the vibration that we share that's going to
Mm.
become like the true wealth,
Mm.
of humanity. So
Mm.
I think it's a great topic that
Mm.
you decided, like when I showed all the things that we could maybe, discuss, you're
Yeah.
like the future of humanity. Wow. I mean, that's about as big and wide open and mysterious as the path of awakening itself. It's like where do we go? What's our context? Who are we as a soul within the greater context of being a community? First and foremost, maybe we would say our sangha, those who we love, who are near and dear, who are hopefully awakening with us, and then this bigger profound global container that we're in, what choices are we going to make together? And what's our connection between our personal sovereignty and this bigger collective, ocean that we're in that might be making far different choices than we are in our own alignment. So it's a huge topic, and I'm really excited to explore.
Wow, I am anticipating profound depths we're going to access in this conversation. And please stay to the end of the podcast, of the video on the YouTube, because Amoraea has prepared two incredible gifts, and you don't want to miss it. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful gift. So we're going to announce them at the very end that you can access for free. So, Amare, I love what immediately stood out for me. You said the frequency is our true wealth, our vibration is our true wealth. So many people right now find themselves disempowered, scared about the future, about feeling like they're unprepared for the future, right? And and losing the focus of what is of true value. So I'd like to maybe start us there. How is it that our vibration is a form of wealth, a form of abundance?
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, truly, vibration is everything. We know that vibration is the nature of the universe, from matter to light itself to consciousness. So our deepest pleasure and resource
Mhm.
is how we hold ourself first and foremost in resonance with the divine, with something that's beyond the space-time matrix, which is the beautiful play, the Maya of reality. It's all vibration, it's all a composition, and it's all an exploration of of the divine. And then it's in this self-realization process through each of us. And that process, where we station our awareness, if it's not connected to this higher dimensional, or let's say more closer towards the origin of source, a space in which the soul, the vibration of the soul, which is resonating at a higher station of awareness than our ego and the collective entrainment, let's just say, the
Mhm.
collective shared reality. We're entrained into a vibrational bandwidth that we're calling the 3D, not only in material world, but what we're calling the egoic subset, of personality and choices, and cultural upbringing, and spiritual tradition that we might have incarnated into, which we all chose. We each chose all of that
Mhm.
that beautiful composition of self. But that the vibration is going to be more and more what's understood as the the source of how and what we align to in the coming years.
Mhm.
And yes, we have a lot we have a lot to actually be concerned about, with our future. And, if we're in the play of the forces, both that are wanting to script, because there are very real forces that are wanting, they have their own agenda. They're wanting to script kind of a path forward for humanity. And it might appear to be really dark. It might appear to be, not with the sovereignty of the soul and the best interest of each human as a precious being with its own rights, inherent rights.
Mhm.
God-given rights are different than man's imposed rights, or laws. And so how do we hold true, which is, how do we stay connected to our vibrational center, our
Mhm.
point of gravity
Mhm.
within a very intense gravity of what's happening on the planet? And so the things that we need to move forward are some pretty mighty skill sets, to
Mhm.
stay true to that alignment and that resonance. Well, somebody, first of all, has to know what that resonance of the soul feels like, because
Mhm.
that's their gravity center, you know. So that's kind of going to be the name of the game in the
Mm.
coming years. It's more and more apparent.
Oof.
If you don't have that connection to a gravity center, which is the soul
Mhm.
stationed in, you know, a place that's permanent, meaning it doesn't it doesn't die, but it also is, it's birthless, it's deathless, it's playing within the space time. And to know that is the radical freedom to then be here, to embrace the very real fears, the very in, in terrifying, you know, suffering that it's it's happening. It's happening.
Mhm.
So it's we can't deny that these are the collective choices. And so how do we embrace all of that duality with
Mhm.
all of its faces, you know, from the
Mhm.
shockingly, disturbingly, you know, just horrendous things in the chaostrophe of the era. You know,
Mhm.
I would call it a chaostrophe. I'd call it a cataclysmic, you know,
Mhm.
experience we're moving into. It's a we're at whatever stage we want to say of a civilizational collapse.
Mhm.
And we do have to embrace that, because if we don't embrace that, we're not going to have a stable point
Mhm.
to then ground ourselves for what's ahead and not be in just some spiritual checkout. You know,
Mhm.
that's, you know, every spiritual tradition has a different name for when we come to a realization of the true self.
Mhm.
As we wake up, we have an inherent desire to be a, a force of light,
Mhm.
you know, for those who are not yet, you know, living on the true awareness of their innate divine nature. And so, you know, we're
Mhm.
here as light bringers. So how do we cope? How do we cope with all of what's happening? And so that's, you know, what I would like to look at with you too, because the future of humanity is not necessarily about the specifics of the timeline that we're going
Mhm.
to choose as a collective. It's about how we ourselves orientate towards that experience that
Mhm.
is so mysterious,
Mhm.
and like it's more mysterious than it ever has been,
Mhm. Mhm.
because of the acceleration of time,
Mhm.
which we could say, you know, when I say acceleration of time, I don't mean the linearity
Mhm.
of, well, you know, a minute is still a minute, a year is still a year. On the atomic clock, there is actually time is kind of changing a little bit on the atomic
Mhm.
clock of the planet. But what I'm talking about of acceleration is the same thing we would talk about with AI, which
Mhm.
is that the acceleration of transformation
Mhm.
of things changing, you know, per unit of time, there's an
Mhm.
acceleration of transformation. And
Mhm.
that dizzying acceleration is almost like not allowing for anything stable, because as soon as we
Mhm.
try to integrate, you know, the next, let's say, upgrade in
Mhm.
technology, or the next amount of change that's happening on the planet from all of the different components
Mhm.
of what transforms a society, that's what we're hardly equipped at the
Mhm.
level of the, I don't want to say it like that, we can be equipped, but
Mhm.
that's what we have to understand,
Yeah.
is how to do that when there's a dizzying speed
Mhm.
of death and birth happening, or transformational substance that's trying to be integrated, you know, trying
Mhm.
to be digested. Well, that's why I say substance, because it's like, how do we digest when
Mhm.
there's so much change happening?
Mhm.
We have to know who we are behind the change. We have to
Mhm.
feel our changeless
Mhm.
reality too.
Mhm.
So that's this thing that we're trying to navigate, being an eternal being, but in a time-based body where time is actually accelerating. And so, yes, that's it.
Mm. I'm absorbing this profound way you described what I was feeling about change is a new stability, right? And truly, how do we continue to upgrade our understanding of stability that can only come from within, which makes us centered, calm, peaceful, and joyful beings, looking at the change with this inner smile, knowing that we cannot die, knowing that we volunteer to come here, knowing that we are unconditionally supported, and knowing that we know that the only thing that is real is mystery, right? And I love that because I have been arriving to a very similar experience within myself, that it's true wealth and true prosperity is that inner core, that inner stability, my ability to dive deep into the inner lake of my soul to source the guidance, to source the inspiration. And then knowing that every single being can access that, we all seeing that it's not an option anymore. If you want to stay true to what's happening, you gotta find the way to dive into that inner well. And that's exactly what you teach, right? That's what we're both passionate teaching. And what I would like to explore with you, because I've always seen you as a very futuristic thinker, futuristic mystic. You are Aquarius. How many Aquarian planet, Aquarian energies you have in you?
My sun, moon, and Mercury are in Aquarius,
I remember it was like, okay, and I am a sun, moon, and Mercury in Leo.
which is
Like,
my rising sign. So we are the opposites of each other on the planet.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why it's just so uh, amazing to hear your perspective, right? Like how you're encoded with that futuristic vision, right? But also I like how you're not spaced Aquarius, you're very grounded and solid Aquarius to me.
Mhm.
How did you arrive to that? What helped you arrive there again and again and again?
Okay. Well, said it is my template. So,
Mhm,
and I think this is part of what we each need to come to is we are eternal beings by our nature. We have to tap into that. And then we have to tap into our very real design, our inherent design, kind of the blueprint for this incarnation.
mhm,
And we have to come to terms and we have to bring forward the best of those things. We have to acknowledge the path that we chose, which means the initiations, the beautiful and challenging aspects of becoming a more and more integrated human, which on some level becomes a full zodiacal being, or it transcends
mhm,
the zodiacal blueprint itself,
mhm,
because that's just a template,
mhm.
and we have to transcend all designs.
Yes.
But let's talk about how this is an experiment. Life is an experiment. Your consciousness is exploring itself in many worlds, many realms, and many parallel lives, right? And so this is us choosing at the deepest level to make the choice to be here is to realize that we're not a victim of
Mhm,
anything.
mhm,
And this is the part that we have to move through right now, because the apparent world is wanting to take us into very much playing out a, let's just say, what might be the opposition of forces that we could call, in the Gnostic tradition, they call it the archonic forces. In the Hindu play out, they call it the Ahriman, Luciferian forces, oppositional energies. If we broadcast it to the highest cosmic level, we might just even call it the destructive energies, which we would call Shiva or, Kali sometimes,
mhm,
But whatever the force that we're being pulled into more to learn about, which is duality,
mhm,
why we're here, we have to know that we're not a victim to it at the deepest level. And this is to actually stand forward and with the glory of knowing that this is a self-chosen initiatory journey that we are
mhm,
on. This is a
mhm,
this is a God-chosen evolutionary process that we're part of, which is to say, this is a 13.8 billion year journey. We're the evolutionary crest of a wave. We have to position ourselves on the surfboard like that. Then this whole thing becomes the most extraordinary mystery, even in the face of the upended, upturning part of us that can't even find a center or an up or down sometimes, because there's so much a play of polarizing forces. But you know, the perennial spiritual traditions will maintain that one of the ways we stand on the surfboard, you know, is to call forth the part of us that is already awakened.
Yes.
That's the part of us that's eternal.
Yes.
And we might connect that to the higher self. Some of the other esoteric traditions might say that the already awakened Buddha in us, or the Christ force, is choosing to incarnate through us when we also put our hand up towards that force and we make the handshake. We say, yes, I am that. And not only am that, I am that for myself in this awakening process where there's no victim. I chose every condition. And I, you know, the tantric tradition will say this too, that everything can be perfectly leveraged towards our own awakening and enlightenment. There's not one thing out of place. Everything can be used as the profound initiatory training ground of the soul to wake up to its own non-dual nature through duality, right? So this is we're in the time of the great calling. So we have to use duality that seems to be more and more dual, or more and more at odds with something. But as long as we're not at odds with anything, then we are the surfer on the surfboard. We are the wave itself. We are the board. We're the ocean itself. And then we're a protector of what's true. And I think that's what the light bringer archetype that so many of us, you know, when we awaken, we realize that we're a protector of the sacred, that right here, right now, inside of us, we're forging the diamond of the self, not just for perfecting our own nature, but we're here at the time of a great calling. We have to muster even more strength because it demands that. And how beautiful. If we wanted a slower time, you know, and we've had slower times. Really evolution is, and this can be proven. Evolution is on an escalator process right now. You know, what used to take a million years now took 1,000 years. What used to take 1,000 years now takes 100 years, 10 years. This is the increase of novelty that we're in right now. So I think that we can harness the challenges of this time and use that to really say, oh, I must be working on even more powerful capacities within myself to meet this initiatory age and challenge, and use it to galvanize an even more powerful being within us, and use this time of fire and transformation and transfiguration and use it, you know, like the world's going up in flames. The world will burn. The world, you know, will burn to the ground. Like, everybody needs to know that. That's what all the mystics know, that the world is always burning. And so subjectively that's true as well. The self has to be willing to burn completely. And that's the beauty of the Shiva energy, or the Kali, the thing that brings it all back to nothing. And when we touch nothing, meaning nothing that is opposing or dual, it's not at odds, it touches true reality, then it flames with a wisdom that's eternal. It flames with a power that is infinite. It flames with a compassion that cannot be swayed
Mm.
by fear or the intensity of ignorance that we're just seeing left and right. It can't be swayed. It actually just becomes more compassion,
Mm.
right?
I kept just closing my eyes and soaking in, this beautiful waterfall of mystical wisdom that was channeling through you. Just really cherishing the way that you bring these profound understandings. And I am so grateful to have this conversation, Amoraea, because I attract people who are mystics at the very core, who want advanced conversation, who want these deep dialogues, who want this, who can hold the tension, right, of both and. So this is such a divine food that your words offer. And I'm so, so grateful. And it's so mm, that's all I wanted to reflect. If people watched my video, they're like, what is going on with Katerina? She's close. She's asleep over there. No, I'm soaking every word in, right? Because it's so touching. It's touching my soul. And Amoraea, what are you looking forward to in the future years? What inspires you? What helps you to continue to expand that compassionate presence
Mm.
when you connect to the future of humanity?
Oh, wow. Well, the process has always and ever been the same on some level, which is we've got this most extraordinary endeavor placed upon us, and it's nothing less than the alchemical creation of the divine human. This is what I call it. The divine human blueprint is part of the platform of what I'm offering. We could call it the universal human, Homo divinicus, Homo luminous, but there's this sacred task, this radical evolutionary leap that requires the soul to step fully in as the operating intelligence and the core architecture of the human design. And so that process has always excited me from the very beginning, that
Mm.
that that my greater body is humanity. And so embracing that it's looking extraordinarily devastatingly messy right now, but also this illuminated force is showing up left and right like
Mm.
profound islands of coherence amidst the catastrophe.
Mm.
And to find each other, is part of the endeavor, because we're not alone in this process. So, a lot of us are facing aloneness because as we wake up, we become more rarefied. And
Mm.
on some level, like we have to face these two parts of us. One is that it's a little bit alone in the higher stratospheres of consciousness. We're like, where are the other people in my bandwidth that are awakened at the same level? At another stage, we also could say, that the broken open heart sees everybody equally in
Mm.
fullest beloved compassion, like, oh my god, we're all just waking Christs and Buddhas, just not quite aware that that's who we are. But if you ask me what I'm excited about, uh, I think there's all these different archetypes within me and within many of us, and they're all getting to have these moments on the stage of humanity and consciousness. Recently I've been feeling like the spiritual warrior in me is
Mhm.
being galvanized.
Mhm.
The force that says
Yeah.
no, the force that says no to some of the outer constructs and forces that are impinging themselves and, standing for what's true, and, finding the courage to know what our our stand is as the world burns. And so that's one archetype, and like I'm finding joy in fleshing out that part of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding joy in how much um like navigating these mysterious places that have feel like they've never happened before. And I think that's like my soul is so dynamic. Like I if anybody knows me, they know that intensity of change is where I like to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I find my evolutionary light turning on. It gets ignited
Mm-hmm.
by the mystery, by new flavors, so that those are new mirrors from which to know myself. And so the level of mystery actually turns me on. The level of uncertainty is part of the equation right now. That's actually like, whoa, okay, I was born for these times. Like, bring it on, bring it on. And if you, like, we have to see this as the stage that our soul chose to explore itself. And then
Mhm,
we could say, wow, well, if I'm part of humanity, whole and whole, all the way through, that is who I am. My bigger self is the collective. I embrace all of it as me.
mm,
Then I have to look at, well, how did I as humanity, create this predicament that we're in?
mm,
How and why did we create this? So I'm in that question all the time,
mm,
because, and you talked about, oh, maybe it's the Aquarian nature, you
mhm,
know, to not only think in the dilation of time, which we would say future and ancient history all become a big open sphere of self and exploration. The greatest future, far, way far out, as
mhm,
well as what are the next steps, the very next steps. Like I'm very interested in the small and the large future
mhm,
currents, and as well as the ancient aspects of where we came from in this 13.8 billion year journey, and then the steps in the human evolution, but also the what we're being asked to is widen identity, not only in time but
mhm.
in space, which we would say is the space I inhabit is no longer just the personal self.
Phew.
We
Yes.
have to dilate open to the what I call the genetic mind of the species.
Mm,
Why would I call it genetic? Well, because we're living in a material world. We chose a morphogenetic field called planet Earth, the experiment of Gaia. It's one of many realms we're exploring right now, literally simultaneously. But this part of us that did choose a genetic journey into these human biospheric beings chose to incarnate into a species level experiment.
mhm,
And that's part of me. Like, but that's my genetic coding. It's so we share that together.
mhm,
So that means there's this resonant field that we're all in together.
mhm,
That is a true and very real and scientific thing we could say. We're all in a morphogenetic, same consciousness, evolutionary groove called the species mind or the species being. But then we're also these, we're part of a solar system composition. We're part of a spiral arm version here in this galaxy. So we're galactic beings. We're multi-galactic. We're cosmic beings. These are all parts of our true and very real nature. So the ability to kind of move in and out of these different membranes of self is the waking up process. And we can't really transcend any one of them until we've integrated the whole of it. So anybody who thinks that this might be their last lifetime in the human realm, we'd have to look at, is that true? Have you integrated every single ounce and every single element of what it means to be human? Do you have any part of you that wants to check out because you're like, oh, this human thing is just a compost heap, of like of evolution, that I'm like, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
We might be tired, and a lot of us are really tired. We have to face what that depletion is and why we're tired. But we also have to face what part of me wants to check out right now. And we have to look at that, and that might be because we're still in opposition to other aspects of self that is humanity. And if we haven't resolved all those parts, then we can't transcend it. So this model I talk about, we could say there's this evolutionary process called holons, and what Ken Wilber, the greatest philosopher, one of them of our times, he talks about this: you can't transcend something until you integrate it. So this, in this process of integrating and transcending through bigger and bigger holons of the self-expression, all the way towards infinity. And so that's what we're doing. We're galvanizing the human process. The experience of what it means to be human is just reaching a whole nother level. So that we're doing the cleaning up process so that we can grow up whole. Instead of just wake up and kind of pierce a hole through the dimensions and pierce into that part of us that's eternal. That's part of waking up. But part of growing up is this integrating all aspects of self, that everybody who's on a spiritual journey, we know that waking up also means growing up to the shadow parts of us, the unintegrated parts of self that clearly are also showing up as unintegrated parts of humanity, because we're part of a collective growing up. So collective growing up process looks like this right now. So what is that fractal of the whole that's in me, and what's it bringing out? What's the shadow material or the unintegrated aspects of my own self that are reflecting in my reality right now? These are the things that turn me on. When you ask, what am I excited about? I'm excited about the unintegrated aspects that are like, oh, wow, I just get excited about evolution. Anyone who's on that spiritual journey knows that the true reward is spiritual integration. Actually, sometimes more than having these big peak moments of experience of transcendental amazingness, the reward is resolving the things that we were at odds with, that were shadow, that were outside of our view, that were seemingly having control of us. Anything that's unintegrated still has control of us. So then we bring it to view, then we have the opportunity to integrate and resolve it. So that's what I'm excited about. Deeper and deeper levels of integration.
Spoken like an alchemist, like a modern alchemist would say that. So I am so moved by the depth and the range that you bring, Amoraea. Thank you so much. And I would love for you to share the gifts that you brought to this transmission, and a special event that's coming up that you wanted to invite people to.
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, the first gift that can be kind of digested at any time for anybody are three gifts actually. One,
Three.
three gifts when you just go in and opt in to these gifts, and you're going to get one that's called it's an audio guided journey, which is one of my passions, is creating these kind of immersive experiential things through a guided process called Open Invitation to the Universe. And
Mm,
so that's one thing. The other is a new ebook that I have that is about embodying this divine human
mm,
blueprint. So extraordinary ebook with questions to engage you and amazing perspectives from micro to macro of what this whole journey is about right now. And then the other third gift is a little video masterclass, a half an hour masterclass. But then we have an actual live experience coming up, which is a
mhm,
virtual immersion, a 3-day process that I'm calling Soul Sovereignty.
mm,
Encoded in those words, I hope, is this understanding that the soul needs to incarnate as the central force in order to stay lucid, coherent, with all the skill sets needed to forge the path ahead and to remain sovereign amidst a maelstrom of other manipulative forces or more ignorant aspects or distractions,
mhm,
distortions that are coming up on the very much swipe and scroll, reality that we're living in, where we can hardly keep up with, the distractions. Sovereignty, sovereignty, sovereignty. So
mhm,
these that's what I really want to bring people to, because the more people we have in these powerful containers, the more we can create a resonant, influential gravity
mhm,
to sustain the power, love, and wisdom that we're going to need, as well as the techniques that I'm going to offer. Because we need to level up with our skill sets
mhm.
for the future we're facing. So please come,
Oof.
and that's going to give you lots of things like a grounded blueprint for how to live as that higher self, like you said about
Mhm,
people like us. We're not just lofty with some big giant idea of who we truly are. We're lucid and sober to what's also practical, to be the grounded ambassadors
mhm,
of this light into the world, and stay super conductive instead of clogged in
mm,
both all the mind, the body, and the heart. All need a different version of tune-ups all the
mhm,
time. More and
mhm.
more, in fact, more and more we need tune-ups because of the onslaught of other frequencies that we're being bombarded with all the time.
Mm. Wow. What it I will be there at the event. I'll sign up. And listeners and viewers, you're gonna find the links underneath the podcast description and the video description. And what an amazing opportunity to come together. And truly, Amoraea, this was such a joy, divine nourishment, divine food. I'm so glad we shared this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will also post the links of how people can find and opt into beautiful gifts that you shared. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again on another next episode with Amoraea and Katerina.